So, limiting water loss in plants is very important for xerophytic plants such as the cacti. They have no problem getting sunlight, it's water that becomes a big limiting factor for them. So, most dicotyledonous plants, two leaf, flowering, that's literally what it means, as opposed to monocots, which are single leaf, like a fern. These sort of plants usually don't have difficulty getting water because they live in quite a damp environment, so temperate environment. So they just control water loss directly through the stomata. But xerophytic plants, the ones in low water areas such as deserts, have to be adapted to minimize their water loss. So they've got lots of different little features to help them with that. Most of the features are very similar, so we shouldn't have too much problem with this. And it's quite a common thing for questions to be asked in exams, comparing a xerophytic plant with a normal plant. So water can be stored in both the stem and the leaves, sometimes one, sometimes the other, sometimes both. So the aloe vera plant there has got very succulent leaves, very thick, and they're full of water. If you cut into them, they actually ooze fluid. And the barrel cacti has lost its leaves, it's only got spines, but it does have a very big stem which can actually expand with those grooves to accommodate lots of water. So it can actually store water when times are good and uses that water store when times are very arid, very dry. However, most water is lost through transpirations. 99% of the water is lost through the transpiration stream. So the most heavily adapted organ of xerophytic plants is the leaves. So that's what we're going to focus on. Xerophytic plants can lose their leaves fully and only have spines. This minimizes surface area and also means it's a form of protecting the stem from animals that would try and get at the water stored within. Also, it's a common misconception that it's only desert plants that are xerophytes, but actually evergreens are classed as xerophytes. To conserve the water in the evergreens, they have a very thick cuticle. It's about 4 times thicker than the cuticle on a non-xerophytic plant. This helps to prevent any water loss through the surface of the leaf, minimizing it down to as small as possible. Xerophytic plants can also roll their leaves up with the stomata facing inwards, which traps a layer of moist air in the coil and also prevents water loss through wind movement. They can coil in 2 directions, either completely downwards like they're doing there, or they can curl inwards, sort of folding the leaf in half along the midriff, the spine of the leaf. Further adaptations can be things like hairs, which trap a moist layer of air, which is very similar to coiling the leaf, as we just saw. It traps a layer of humidity within the area so that it will then reduce the concentration gradient between the inside of the leaf and the outside of the leaf, so less water is lost. Insects have a similar sort of thing as well. They have hairs covering the spiracles to prevent water loss. So desert insects have lots of hairs around the spiracles, which trap a layer of moist air. Xerophytic plants also can put the stomata into grooves or pits. This again will minimize air movement because it's sheltered within the groove and also traps another layer of moist air there. So it's again setting up a reduced concentration gradient. Also, by losing the leaves, that reduces surface area. The grooves also fold the surface up, so it's less surface exposed to the environment. More of it is in the shadow of the groove. And the final bit is, as I've said, it's not only desert plants. Lots of people think xerophytes are just cacti. There are loads of environments on the planet where there's a need to conserve water, such as salt marshes, which are high in salt content, obviously the name gives that away, and sand dunes, which are very dry. Both of those really disrupt osmosis and water retention. So plants there have to be very, very well adapted to that. Other environments could be very cold environments, such as tundral forests and Norwegian forests, that sort of thing, where the water can be frozen, sometimes in glaciers and sometimes in the permafrost. That's it for xerophytic plants and controlling water loss. Thanks a lot. Bye.